I created a very simple simulation using Arcade for windowing and for the graphics, and Pymunk for the physics simulation. So I'm going to show you. So I just have two static line or line segments, and when I click with my mouse button at the click position, it just appears a new sprite, this smiley face, this ugly smiley face, and it just creates this simple bouncing simulation. So just to demonstrate how to use Arcade together with the Pymunk physics library, and let me show you the code. So first thing first, I uploaded this code together with the smile.png to my minigames repository, and I'm going to add this link to the video description. And for this to run, you will need to install also Pymunk. So just open up your command prompt or your terminal and just type in pip install Pymunk. And the second thing, I just before I continue, I just want to show you that I am now using the latest version of Arcade, which is version 2.1.2, and I'm still using Python version 3.6. So if you want to use latest version of Arcade with Python version 3.6, you need to install also the data classes module, so pip install data classes, if you are using Python version 3.6. If you are using Python version 3.7, then these data classes are already included in Python version 3.7. Okay, so let's get to the code. So here I'm just importing the Pymunk options, and I'm setting the Pymunk options that options debug equals false. So without these two lines, I'm going to comment these out. If you run the application, you get this line printed to your output. So I like to just disable this print. So you can do this with these two lines. Okay, so the next two things, I'm importing the Pymunk and also the Arcade, and also from the math module the degrees function. Here I just commented out this because it doesn't work with Arcade, so the draw options. If you are using Pyglet or Pygame, you can just set this Pymunk.pyglet util import draw options and create an options equals draw options, and you can see your Pymunk shapes inside Pygame or Pyglet. But unfortunately, I commented it out because it doesn't work with Arcade. So yeah. The next thing here, I'm creating a space using the Pymunk space object, and I'm setting the space gravity on x 0 and on the y negative 1000. And if you want to know a little bit more how Pymunk works, how this physics engine works, you can go to my playlist on the Pymunk physics in Pyglet. I created these videos more than 1 year ago, and you can just learn all the basics of Pymunk. And I'm also going to add these playlists to the video description if you want to know. And you can also go to the official Pymunk's page to pymunk.org, and here you can find all the API reference and also showcases and tutorials. So here I'm creating two global variables. One is the mass, which is set to 1, and a radius, which is set to 30. And here I'm creating the two shapes, or I mean the two lines, using the Pymunk segment. And the first argument is its body, which is a static body, and the xy position of the first point of this segment, and the xy position of the second point of the segment. So this is the first line segment, which starts at 500 x and 400 y, so this one, and it ends here at 1300 x and 440 y, so somewhere here. And this is the segment, the width of the segment. I mean the width, or let me see, or the radius. So how thick the thickness of the line segment. And here I'm setting the segment shape elasticity to 0.8, the segment shape friction to 1.0, and I'm adding to the space this first line segment. If you want to know more on elasticity and friction, as I said earlier, you can go to my playlist and watch these tutorials. Then I'm creating the segment shape 2. It starts at 100x and 160y, and it ends at 900x and 100y. So this is this second line. And its thickness is also 2. Its elasticity and friction, so elasticity 0.8, friction 1.0, and also added it to the space object. Here I created the My Game window, which inherits from the arcade window, setting the window's location, setting the background color for the windows, and I'm also creating here cell.sprites, which is an arcade.sprite list object. In the onDraw method, I'm calling the arcade start render, which just clears the color buffer bit, and I'm drawing 2 arcade lines using the arcade.draw lines function. And to the first line, I'm adding the segment shape.a and the segment shape.b, and the segment shape.a holds a vector 2 value of these 2 values, so 500 and 400, and the segment shape 1.b holds the vector 2 value of 1300 and 440. So you need to pass it as a list or a tuple, and it has a color of color red, and the thickness of the line is 4. The second line is using the segment shape 2.a, so these values, and it's in the segment shape 2.b, which returns these 2 values, so 900 and 100. And it has also a color red, and its thickness is 4. And also here calling the sprites the draw, which just draws this sprite list object. In the onUpdate method, here happens all the logic, so I'm updating the space, so with the space the step and giving it the delta time, and then I'm looping through on the sprites list, so with the enumerate function, so which returns the sprite object, the current sprite object, and also its index. And then I'm setting the sprite.angle to the space that bodies at index.angle and converting this to a degrees, because this returns the angle in radians, and the arcade sprite's angle is measured in degrees, so that's why you need to convert it to degrees. And then in the sprite set position, I'm just setting the sprite's position based on the space that bodies at current body, I mean the index, that position x, and space that bodies at index that position that y. So this sets the current sprite's position based on the Pymunk bodies x and y position. And lastly, here is a second for loop, which just loops through in the space that bodies. So, and if this body's position that y is less than -100, which means it is below the screen. So if I click here, and this sprite is so this is the bottom of the screen, which is 0, and it gets below 0, so -100, then this sprite, the current sprite, gets removed from the sprite list. And also I'm removing from the space the current body and its shape. So you need to do this because you have to delete all the objects which are not visible and won't be visible in the future. And in this way your program will run much more efficient, especially when you add multiple sprites and multiple bodies and shapes to your space, Pymunk space. And so let's get further. And here in the onMouse press event, if button is arcaded mouse left, I'm creating a circle moment using the Pymunk that moment for a circle, which just calculates the moment of inertia for a circle. If you want to know more on how to calculate the moment of inertia and what is a moment of inertia, as I said, here in video number 4, I'm talking about moment of inertia. And then I'm creating a circle body, using the Pymunk body and giving it the mass, which is this global variable which is set to 1, and also the radius, which is set to 30. And let me see. Yeah, I'm here. So circle with the circle mass. Where I was? So I was in this moment for a circle. So with the mass and the radius, then circle body using the Pymunk body with also the mass, and giving it the second argument to this body is the moment of inertia, which is calculated here. And I'm setting the body's position to the mouse click X and Y. And I'm also creating a circle shape object using the Pymunk circle. The first argument is the circle body and the circle radius. Here I'm setting its elasticity to 0.8 and the circle shape friction to 1.0. And I'm also adding the new created circle to the space using the space.add, the circle body, and also the circle shape. You need to add both, the body and also the shape. And at last, I'm just adding to the sprite list object a new arcade sprite using the sprites that /png, smile.png, and its position is the circle body .position.x, and its x position, and its y position is the circle body .position.y. So this is a very simple simulation. How it just shows you how you can use Pymunk or arcade with Pymunk, and try to imagine what other useful things you can do with the two libraries together. So I just encourage you to try it out. And of course here, lastly, I'm just instantiating a my game window object and calling the arcade.run. And as I said, I'm going to add this link to the video description. And I'm also going to add the Pymunk link and also my minigames repository to the video description.